Dr. Barron brings nearly 35 years of experience in academic administration, education, research, and public service, as well as fiscal management within large and complex institutions. He has served as the president of Florida State University in Tallahassee since 2010 and has held several notable positions within higher education, including Dean of Penn State's College of Earth and Mineral Sciences from 2002 to 2006. We are thrilled to have a Penn Stater return to us. He was well regarded and respected while he was here from 1986 to 2006 and has since garnered national attention for his leadership and scholarship. He would join Penn State on or before May 12th of this year. A press release with the details about Dr. Barron's background has been distributed. If you haven't received a copy or need additional details, please see our Director of News and Media Relations, Lisa Powers. I will ask that Dr. Barron and my colleagues introduce themselves and state their role in the presidential search process. But before we begin, I'd like to introduce Eric's wife, Molly Barron. Molly, can you please stand for a moment? Born in La Jolla, California, Molly has been devoted to education all of her professional life. She earned a BA in education from Central College in Iowa and has been an avid volunteer in teaching focusing on middle school. Eric and Molly previously resided in State College. Molly was president of the Parent Teachers Organization and taught in the middle school computer technology program. She also has been a visible and welcoming presence at university alumni and student events, and we look forward to Molly's involvement at Penn State. Thank you. Now let's begin. Karen?
Thank you. Thanks, Keith. I'm Karen Peetz, and I was the chair of the trustee portion of the search committee, and I served both with Keith Mosser and Paul Silvis, as well as Peter Tombros, who's the head of the campaign for Penn State students, and we were the crossover group that also served with the search and screen.
Nan?
Hi, I'm Nan Crowder. I'm Dean of the College of Health and Human Development, and I chaired the University President Search and Screen Committee. I have deep roots at Penn State, having been on the Penn State faculty since 1981. I've served Penn State in many capacities: teaching, research, public service and administration, and I was very pleased to serve Penn State in this important way. Along with Dan Hagan, who served as vice chair of the Search and Screen Committee, and he's the former chair of the Faculty Senate and a professor of animal sciences, Sean Gabadon, who's distinguished professor of criminal justice at Penn State Harrisburg, and David Hahn, who's associate professor of surgery and radiology at the Penn State Milton S. Hershey Medical Center. I also joined the discussions and deliberations of the Trustee Presidential Selection Council.
Eric, would you introduce yourself, please?
Eric Barron. It's just, I only want to say that it's just truly a dream come true to be here and to be the next president at Penn State University.
Thank you. Now we'll take questions from the media representatives present. Lisa Powers is at the front here and will call on members of the media with questions. Please wait until a member of the staff brings a microphone to you. We ask that you first please state your name and the media outlet that you represent. We will attempt to answer as many questions as time permits and will adjourn shortly after 1 o'clock. We will remain for a few minutes after that so members of the broadcast media that are present can have questions addressed on camera. So let's begin.
The two microphones, there's one here and there's one there. Anybody? AP.
Dr. Barron, surely you've followed the Sandusky scandal and matters related to Coach Paterno. I wonder what your thoughts are about how they've been handled and the effect on the university.
Okay, well, you know, if Penn State touches you during your life, then you love this university. You don't really have a choice. And so, of course, those events were incredibly painful and saddening to all those people that love Penn State University. But what I see is an institution that has really taken control of compliance and is no doubt now a model university that I think a lot of other universities are going to look at and say, this is the way we should be operating to make sure that we're doing all the things the right way. This is truly the Penn State way. If we find something that we're not doing well, we turn around and make sure that we are doing it well.
Mike Dawson.
Hi, I'm Mike Dawson from the Center Daily Times. I'm wondering what your plans are to bridge the divide in the Penn State community, those who feel that the board didn't make the right decision. So can you give us your thoughts on that?
Okay, so, I have a lot to learn. I want to make sure that I take the time to learn everything that I can. I think it's a mistake to think that just because I was here 8 years ago and for a while, or that I'm paying attention to what's going on in the world, that I know everything and can make decisions and comments. But I will say this, I truly believe that everybody you talk to that is a part of this university wants to come together to support a truly great university. And so my feeling is that with the opportunity to talk about the greatness of this university, all the wonderful things that it's doing, all the wonderful things that it can do and will do, that this is one community that is so dedicated to this university that I believe we will all come together because we love the institution so much.
Did Charlie Thompson?
Yes. Excuse me. Dr. Barron, I was just curious about when Charlie Thompson with the Patriot News and PennLive.com. I was just curious about when your interest in this job started, and if you had applied during the course of 2013 or were recruited during the course of 2013. And then my question to Karen Peetz and Nan Crowder would be, where was Dr. Barron's name during the first portion of the search when you had settled on Dr. Smith at SUNY?
Okay, so, I think I've always been interested in Penn State since I first interviewed in 1985. And it was an absolutely great place to raise a family. It was a university totally committed to excellence. So my interest is always there. But I have to admit that a year ago, where Florida State was and the things we were trying to accomplish, including being named a preeminent university in the state of Florida, made it such that I did not indicate any interest in the job because I had more to do. And so it's been very recent that that I've demonstrated my interest and came and interviewed.
Mm-hmm. So maybe I'll comment and then Nan can. The process for the search changed actually over time. And one of the things that we learned from really almost a year at the process was that going after candidates who we were particularly focused on and interested in might yield a better outcome. And that put Eric Barron straight in our scope.
I don't really have much to add. I think there's been interest and talk about Eric Barron all along, but it was a long journey, and we had a lot of thinking to do, twists and turns, which I think none of us really at this point want to go into. We're just so delighted to be here. And I think a search has to be judged by the outcome of the search. And if you could have looked around at the faces of the Search and Screen Committee after Dr. Barron left the room, after our interview with him, just the sense of optimism and kind of aha on everybody's face. We knew that we were there. So that's the way I see it.
Can you say when you interviewed with them?
Not going to go into any details on the search.
Sue, you have a question?
Dr. Barron, I'm Sue Snyder with the Philadelphia Inquirer, and I just wondered, I'm sure when you were talking to the board, you probably outlined some of your plans or goals or things you'd like to do at Penn State, and I just wondered if you could talk about, some of the things that you'd like to do going forward.
Okay, so there are many things that I'm passionate about, including student success and student engagement that allows a student to be happier, healthier, get better grades, have a stronger resume, and get a better job. Those are the types of things that I'm passionate about. And it's also something that Penn State does well, and you always look, okay, can we even do it better? But the truth of the matter is the first thing I'd like to do is tap each dean on the shoulder and say, I'd like to spend a half a day with you. I want you to show me your physical plan. I want you to tell me those things that you brag about. I would like you to tell me those things that you struggle with. And because I do think it's a mistake to sit there and say, okay, I've been a university president for 4 years. I've directed a national laboratory. I know what to do, because it doesn't usually work that way. The way it works well is when you have a full sense of the strengths of an institution and those weaknesses, and you look how you can leverage those strengths and go to the next level, and do it in a way in which the entire community is there eager to do those things with you. And so I need to discover those. And so mine is not of we're going to do this, this, and this. Mine is one of working hard to understand this institution as best as I can so that I can be a truly good leader.
Mark, did you have a question?
Hey, Mark Dent from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Mr. Barron, what do you think is the proper role of Joe Paterno in Penn State history, and how do you think the university should acknowledge it?
Okay, so my feeling is the wisest answer is to tell you to give me time. Okay, I watched all of his great strengths as a faculty member and as a dean and as someone who loves this institution. But in my view, whatever we do, we have to make sure that we do it with a high sense of dignity and honor. And sometimes that takes time.
Anyone else? Another question? Back there?
Hi, my name's Casey Laser. I'm for the Center County Report. You've been to Penn State and taught here, and we're part of the Earth and Mineral Sciences. Kind of just like a light answer, what was the one thing that you were looking forward to coming back to Happy Valley after so many years?
Okay, I bet I couldn't put that down into one. There is such a commitment to excellence here. I think it's something that maybe everybody here doesn't even realize, and it's a gift you get when you go to other places. And you realize the degree to which an institution has that culture embedded in them, that sense of community that is Penn State, and that is something very special. And so I'd probably put it in those terms.
Adam?
Dr. Barron, Adam Smeltz with the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review. You're coming in at a time of a lot of tension for Penn State. Certainly the university is facing a lot of scrutiny from Harrisburg. There's a trial expected for 3 former administrators. The alumni base is still largely fractured, and there are budgetary concerns, of course. What do you anticipate will be your biggest challenge coming in, and what suits you most well to address it?
Okay, so I must admit that from my own personal perspective, I see things a little bit differently, partly a little bit differently, but partly it's because I have the perspective of distance and a little bit of time. I really don't see barriers to continuing to advance this institution. It's advancing in a remarkable set of ways, the amount of research money that's coming in, a record number of students that are applying to this institution, advancing in the national rankings, which is the number one thing that a good student looks at to decide to pick what university they're. I mean, and I get the opportunity because their colleagues and friends and many of the alumni in Penn State that I work to raise money, gifts from in the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences have stayed our friends. And we get the opportunity to see them. And I see this tremendous amount of energy and commitment. And if you talk to the faculty, they're talking to you about the next great thing that they're doing. And so this is what I see that is Penn State. Now, issues, of course. And I'm a firm believer that legislators and elected officials have to have confidence that we are spending money wisely, and they have to have confidence that we are committed to ensuring the success of the students that come here. And in my mind, very frequently, that just means that we have to make sure that our arguments are there and that we're showing how well we're performing, and also that we maintain a level of commitment. I will tell you what is a personal philosophy of mine with the legislature, and that is that every time I go in there and I say, unlike many other presidents, this is what I'm going to spend the money on. This is why I want to spend the money on it. And if they give me those funds, I'm going to come right back the next year and say, this is what we spent the money on. It's exactly what I told you that we were going to do. And look at these positive impacts that are there. And so I see opportunity everywhere I look, to be quite truthful.
Just a couple more questions. I think someone over here was waiting longer. Dave?
Dave Marcheski with ABC 27. At 62 years old, your contract's at 5 years. You'll be 67, of course. How long do you see yourself doing this? Would you go beyond 67?
Well, we can have a couple of discussions on that. One is you could ask my wife, and she would tell you that that I have trouble sitting still, and that she can't imagine what retirement would be like for me, because I would just go find the next thing that I had to do. This is just such a great honor, and also something that in many ways, personally, I derive a lot of personal satisfaction about. So what I want to do is to do the job the best way that I can, so that everybody looks me in the eye and says, you know, we really don't want you to stop. And I know there'll come to a point that, you know, that'll happen. I'm very comfortable with a 5-year contract. I'm going to do my very best to make sure the university says, well, you're still going great guns and you're doing a great job. What do you want to do next?
Okay, we have 2 more questions, and I think Lori and Anna. So Lori, go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Barron. Lori Shantz from the Penn Stater Alumni Magazine. I'm wondering what you learned from dealing with the legislature in Florida, the preeminent university that you can bring here in your dealings with the Pennsylvania legislature.
Okay, this really does go back to how can a legislature be comfortable that you're a wise steward of taxpayer money and that you're doing things that serve our students and making sure that they're successful. And I have typically played the role when people have said we need to do this, this, and this, to say, okay, I'm there with you, but if you really want to do this right, here is the way to measure. I welcome the notion that you want to measure this university. I need to give you confidence that we're doing a good job. But here's the way that I think. So it's not me saying, no, please, please, we know what we're doing, okay? It's instead, it's, I got it. I need to help build your confidence. You need to know that we're doing the right thing. So let's look together at what these metrics and measures should be, and we can talk about those that work well, those for which they set national standards, those for which everybody has the belief that that metric is valuable, those that you can measure. A lot of times we have metrics out there that we can't measure. It makes it kind of tricky to use them. And so that I am viewed as a partner in trying to do it right and to measure university success right. I'm not perfect, but I have a lot of thoughts on it, and I don't mind sharing them. And I think in the state of Florida, the legislators know that I'm an honest broker, and that I will be careful and thoughtful to the best of my ability.
Okay, our final question, because we're on a tight time frame. Anna?
Hi, Anna Orso with Penn Live and the Harrisburg Patriot News. Obviously, the Sandusky scandal really changed the identity of this university. Florida State recently had its own challenges surrounding Jameis Winston in that case. Obviously, two very different situations, but can you talk a little bit about what you learned from dealing with that and how you can use those lessons to kind of move Penn State forward? And then for the rest of you, was bringing in somebody who has dealt with that type of situation a coincidence, or was that sort of by design?
Okay, so here's my view just on the Jameis Winston case. It's incredibly important that an institution follow due process, that we let the police do their jobs and the district attorney to do their jobs, and if it goes to that point, to have the courts do their job. And for the university to respect that. Because if you sit there and examine what occurred with Jameis Winston, here are many alumni that are looking at and say, this man became a Heisman candidate and we moved to number 2 in the polls, and that's why this is happening. And so there is this sense that you must support this quarterback. And because look at this impact, and we're so sure of what's right or wrong in this particular case. The thing that concerns me is that, and without any comment on the individual that brought the charge, the environment that places any victim that's out there to feel that pressure of press and alumni is such that I would worry that any victim would want to come forward if that was the case. And so this is one of the reasons why I felt that because that story was played out in the press so thoroughly before any details of the police investigation, before any of the details and decisions of the district attorney, who incidentally has historically been very hard on the university, why I said in my statement that I thought the entire university was hurt and that I have an obligation to protect all of our students and not to choose sides. And it's an interesting lesson and one that I won't forget.
How do you think that will help you moving forward at Penn State specifically, then?
Okay, this statement that I made about the commitment to all of our students and a commitment to due process is one that I believe in thoroughly. This is not one where the university president stands up and picks sides, and nor should I encourage anybody else in the institution to choose sides. We have to let those people, the professionals, do their job and respect due process.
Okay, we're going to let the video folks come up, and if you need some time with Dr. Barron. And thanks all for coming.